Psychics, a group of people who claim to be able to predict your future, with some even going as far as suggesting that they have supernatural powers. So today, we'll sit down with two different psychics as they predict my future in the hopes of learning just a little bit more about one of the world's oldest professions. So everyone is quick to disregard psychics as being fake or a scam, but is there some truth to the concept behind somebody being able to predict your future? You see these archetypes of humans pop up throughout history. Magicians and witches and seers, the shaman who connects with a spirit and is able to relay information to the tribe. Can it really be true that one person is more sensitive to certain energies than another? And is it possible that they have an innate ability to connect with spirits or ghosts? I'm skeptical going in. Do they just give you a bunch of generic stuff that they could say to anybody, like, you're so brave, or you have a lot of ambition in life? Or do they kind of give you more specifics about your life, where it's like, man, how did they know that? So let's go and try to explore this question. Are psychics real, and do they have some sort of innate ability to predict futures and pick up on energies that a normal person can't? Let's go find out. So walking into the shop, my mind was drawn to one thing: Buddha, 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 and more Buddha, along with some really cool artwork and some pretty cool crystals. This is the first psychic, and these cards are my first task, being asked to shuffle them in any order I want. These tarot cards are supposedly about to tell me my future, and after laying out the final cards, she started to notice some things about my life.
You have a couple things going on. There's some relation stuff, but there's also a lot of work stuff. Yes, a lot of work stuff.
And while those are pretty general, which is exactly what I was skeptical about, she did start to hit on some things that I found myself relating to.
There's a new journey, but there's a delay. In the last 4 to 6 weeks, it seems like things weren't really clear. Not really sure which way to go, what to do.
Now, while these are still pretty general, I felt like I could relate when I was looking at these cards. The story being laid out in front of me about my life was making sense. And to wrap up our session, a pretty funny coincidence happened.
So what was the strongest message?
Go to the joy. Find the joy.
This card just pulls it all together. Joy is the ultimate creator.
That's funny. So having ended the reading, it felt like I was emerging from a therapy session, but I still had questions for the psychic. How does one get into this profession? And does she think there's some supernaturalness to the universe that we live in? How did you find out that you had this ability?
From the time I was little, I always knew that I was a little bit different. I had something different. I could feel things.
Have you had any strange encounters that you can't explain?
Well, I think if you're an intuitive, you always have all kinds of strange encounters. Right. My kid growing up in my house, there was always stuff flying around his room and stuff like that.
So I wanted to see if this second reading would provide similar insights to the first. The reading started off the same exact way, but the result of this reading was one that shocked me, because the story being laid out right in front of me was one even more relatable than the first.
Starting off the reading, you've got the Fool. The Fool's all about a new journey, right? A leap of faith. What that leads to here with the Four card, this is a card of being very guarded. Not only is he watching his money, but he's guarding his heart chakra. So there was a shift here of like this kind of like the cycle, right? Doing something, but not doing anything.
And as crazy as it sounds, the story she was telling me was one that I could relate to. And when she asked me how I felt about the reading, this is what I said.
It all made sense to me, especially these three. I definitely relate to those. Yeah, it all made sense.
Now, I had similar questions for her as well. How did she stumble upon this profession? And what does she think about spirits and ghosts? And there seems to be some commonalities from the answers of the psychics about their experiences with the supernatural.
How did you find out about like your ability and like your passion to do this?
So this runs in my family. Generations of psychic. My mother was very psychic, my grandmother.
Have you had any strange encounters that you can't explain?
So yeah, our house was pretty much like a vortex. You said something there, it was gonna happen. Other family members, they're very much seeing and hearing things. Even people that don't believe in this, they were like, oh, there's no way that happened.
So after leaving the readings and wondering if people were more sensitive to energies than others, it became pretty apparent that some are. But it wouldn't be until I got home until I could fully wrap my head around the experience. I'm pretty surprised. Kind of went in there trying to see, is this a scam? I think the profession of being a psychic naturally opens itself up for hucksters and scammers. I walked out of there more curious than when I walked in. They seem to have paranormal experiences and weird experiences. Life is very interesting. The fact that we're even here as human beings is bewildering. So is it impossible that ghosts and spirits are real and people can connect with them and interact with them? Is that any crazier than Earth itself? Not really sure it is, because this whole thing is baffling. So the big question, are psychics real? Well, I think the answer is completely dependent on the person and how they decide to interpret their experiences. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Are psychics real?